So first and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate you attending the seminar. The whole point of the seminar is how to generate revenue responsibly during COVID-19. Certainly appreciate everyone for taking time out of their day, attendees and panelists both. I know everybody's trying to run their business during this time, and taking a couple hours is much appreciated. My name is Christopher Ryan. I will be your host and moderator today. I'm the proprietor of Six Marketing, and I've known most of these people for quite a while that are on this expert panel. So why are we holding this webinar? Obviously, the world has changed in ways that we cannot expect. Things are changing day to day, and the rest of us are trying to basically keep up and adapt. The plans we had yesterday for some of our clients are completely different for today. So, we are all hustling to adapt as quick as possible so that we can help one another, help our clients. Simply to generate revenue, and this is probably going to be a constant, we simply need to develop new ways to operate our businesses. So immediately, we need to develop new ways so that we can keep the lights on, so that we figure out how to pay our employees. And then realistically, we probably need to adapt new ways to run our businesses for the long term. None of us really know if this is going to end in 2 weeks, if it's going to end in a month, if it's going to come back next year. So any type of new methods of running your business will certainly help during this time and moving forward. It's not an easy time to run a business, simply. And it's hard for our clients, it's hard for us, but like I said, our panel is I'm super excited to share the experts we put here together. They're uniquely qualified, and they're going to provide you with real-time solutions that will help your situation. And I say that because everyone here on the panel is a sales and marketing expert. They are coming up with solutions for all different types of businesses, from attorneys to restaurateurs to boating dealers to financial analysts. It's definitely an ongoing conversation for all of us. So the method for today, I guess, as far as the webinar goes, is we want to have this be a candid conversation, and we want you guys to ask us questions on how certain things you're having issues with running your business. It could be simple things like, how do I use Facebook Live? Should I use Facebook Live? Or it can be something a little more complex. But we want to keep this conversational, and we want to be able to give you some actionable intel that you guys can take away with you. Now, the overall mantra for at least my company, and I think a lot of the companies on the conversation today, is how do we create sales and marketing messaging that's socially responsible while being economically sustainable? There's opportunity for each and every business right now without being opportunistic. And that's a fine line to walk, because lots of businesses are trending to pull back, and they're not really sure what to do, and they don't want to be seen as opportunistic, but at the end of the day, they need to keep the lights on, and they need to keep their employees employed. So let's talk about what you guys are going to get, or what we hope you're going to get from the seminar today. Some of the tips and takeaways you will hear, again, actionable intel that'll help you run your business, but you're going to hear things that you should do, and things that you probably shouldn't do, or definitely think about moving forward. So since I'm not going to talk too much today, which is unusual, I'm going to give a couple quick tips. But one tip that we're seeing quite a bit, or one tip that we're recommending, is unless you're in a business that directly benefits from providing a solution for COVID-19 and helping people, like creating masks or volunteering, things like that, running the line of trying to sell something to someone is not really recommended at this time. So now, I'd further that saying that if your demographic happens to be the restaurateurs and the small businesses and the ones that are adversely getting affected right now, trying to sell them a new car may not be the best tactic right now. But certainly there's also great opportunity at the same time. So it's possible to market your business very effectively during a down economy. We saw it in 2008. We're starting to see it over and over again now. If your company is positioned financially to weather this storm, and if they continue to create messaging and promote, they will come out exponentially ahead of the competition. Again, people are somewhat scared and they're pulling back, and, you know, they're certainly, you know, trying to figure out the entire situation. It's very similar to what, I think we have some financial advisors on. It's very similar to what financial advisors are recommending. You know, if you have the ability to invest in the stock market or invest, it's probably a good time because you're going to get a good return later. Similar in the sales and marketing world. I want to be very, very clear. The first question we ask our clients before we recommend a strategy like this is, what's really happening? You know, are you in a position to even listen to a recommendation like this? Or are we worried about the business even being open after? And more often than not, everybody is on the latter side of things, where we all don't have a, you know, a plethora of cash sitting around to invest when we, you know, it is opportune to. So with those conversations, we simply adjust. You know, there are some tactics that you can employ that do not involve money. Every single person that's on this call right now, as you can see, we're all from home. You know, we have the luxury of time for the first time ever. So it would behoove you to do things like create content, go Facebook Live if that's within your demographic. It will help to, you know, continually to build relationships with people at this time. They may not be ready to buy right now. They may be, you know, they certainly will be ready to buy hopefully sooner than later. So it's a good time to build relationships. It's a good time to pick up the phone. But there are certainly some ways that we can promote socially responsibly and try to keep economically sustainable. And you will hear today that there are several businesses that are making these connections with people that are doing very, very well. We have a boutique, and I think she's on the call today. She has jumped all over really providing helpful content to people. And as a result, the people that are able to shop from her boutique are shopping quite frequently. Facebook messages have increased, sales have increased, and, you know, she's trying to figure out how we do this all from operating remotely. But that's a good example of where content will breed success. All right. So here's how today's going to work. I'm going to give you a brief introduction, as I said, to each of the panelists. They're going to share a current situation with a customer or client. And after that, we're going to open the floor to you. So any questions that you guys may have, there's a Q&A icon on the bottom. So if you hover over all of our faces, you can ask questions, and we will try to get to every single one of your questions. Hopefully the stories that they're going to share are going to spark some interest for you guys to kind of get the wheels turning. So we're out of order because I think we signed in all differently, but the handsome gentleman with the clean tilapia shirt, that is Michael Nelson. He is our avant-garde owner of Brainworks Studios out of Saratoga Springs. He specializes in developing photo and video content, branding, helping you tell your story. He's an amazing videographer. He's also a yogi and just had a baby boy, so congratulations. Next on Vince Allo, I guess their name's up there so you guys can see. He's a senior account manager down at iHeart Boston. Vince has been in traditional sales for, I don't want to date you, Vince, but 20 plus years. I've been friends with him for longer than that. Vince is the king of campaigns. Anytime that we need an idea or we're stuck or have writer's block when it comes to marketing, we call Vince up. He's seen it all, he's done it all, and he certainly has a good approach between the traditional and the digital. Next, we have Tara Gearhart on the bottom. She is also from Boston. Tara owns T Media Consulting. Tara is a marketing platform and HubSpot platform expert. If you are using systems in your marketing, she's the person to talk to. She also helps develop messaging. She works with sales teams to help them turn prospects into clients or customers. Basically, she's the queen of turning leads into sales. She also hosts a great video show called Girlfriends Talk Marketing. So I checked that out on her site later. Right in the middle, we have Nate Feinberg. Nate owns Group 6 Interactive. He was on the development team that built the very first Sony blog. He's got a buku background in development. He now lives in Vermont, where he's from, and he has owned his business, and I don't want to speak for you, Nate, but around 10 years now. Yep. He's shaking his head yes. So if you have any questions on websites, how do I adapt my website? Is it possible to sell online? with existing situations, he's the person to kind of direct your questions to then. The gentleman with the blue hat on, Keith Hannigan, he's our jack of all trades. Keith has been a general sales manager for the Capital Region in New York as a radio. So he has a similar background to Vince. Now he's a content writer and developer for several different advertising firms, and he's also a screenwriter. So when it comes to blogging, content writing, developing social media posts, that's where his expertise lie right now. But he also has a decent history and in media buying and how to write radio scripts and things like that. Finally, the last top left, we have Jacqueline Shipticki. Jacqueline works for Six Marketing. She's our chief operations officer, and she's one of our marketing strategists. Jacqueline has had pretty much every job there is to have at Six in her young career. Right now, she helps all of our clients take their goals and turn it into actionable plans. So, it's very important for our company to be able to make sure that we are partners on a team with our clients and we help them get specifically to their goals. Tactically, she is a Google Ads expert, so I'm sure that will spark a lot of interest too. So if you have any Google Ads questions, feel free to direct it to her. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our panelists, and then we're going to open up for questions. Just don't forget, if you're looking for the question mark, just hover over all of our faces, and on the bottom of the Zoom meeting, there's a Q&A that you guys can start putting questions together. So Mike Nelson, I'll just go in the same order. Share us something that's happening with your clients and how you're addressing it.
Yeah, so we work with all sorts of clients right now. So we're not relegated to one industry. We are in everywhere from yoga studios to commercial cleaning companies to trampoline parks. And so we're kind of seeing a lot of different things happening for our clients. Many of them shut right down, doors closed, can't do anything, still trying to work out ways to be able to stay connected. I think that's one of the big things that a lot of people are trying to do to their client base when they can't be open, is to stay connected to that client base. So I know, like with the yoga studio, we're working very diligently on offering ways to stay connected. So whether it's through email campaigns or Facebook Live, we've also been getting some YouTube videos up, and really just trying to make sure that we're talking to our clients in that standpoint, and making sure that they know that we're here and we're going to be here after this is all said and done with. It's because it's a very challenging time for a lot of businesses, and many people will not, unfortunately, be here. As a marketing company, content creation, and with what we do, our big thing right now is really kind of, as you said, Chris, we're really not trying to sell anybody on services, especially because things are so uncertain for everyone right now. It's kind of hard to commit to spending money on marketing and doing things when you're not sure if you're going to be around in 30 days or 60 days or 90 days. Obviously, there's going to be a big, a lot of fallout anyway from what we're seeing with the current situation in the business community. But what we are trying to do, and what we're counseling our clients on, is just finding ways to provide value and just continue to add value to whatever you're doing. So whether it's just, like we just put out a video a week or maybe 10 days ago, just letting people know that, hey, the small business community is in trouble, and we really want people to understand that they need your help. So whether it's buying a gift certificate that you don't need, which I've been buying myself, been buying gift certificates from restaurants, friends that own restaurants, I haven't even picked them up yet. I probably won't use them for months and months, but they need revenue now. So trying to find ways to get revenue into the hands of the small business owner, I think, is important. It's a tough and challenging time out there. I could tell probably 20 stories, but I don't want to bogart the session today. But I think the big thing overall is, well, a few different things. One, I do have clients trying to be everything to everyone right now because they just need money coming in the door. And I think that that's a mistake. Obviously, you don't want to just shrink back, but at the same time, you don't want to start doing things that are out of your core competencies and leave who you are as an organization behind in trying to get, the almighty dollar, because you're trying to keep the doors open. Yes, we want to stay open, and yes, we need to pay our employees, but at the same time, I think we have to really hold the line of staying who we are as businesses. And that's something that I'm talking to with my clients, because they're like, oh, well, maybe we could market this and we could market that. And if my advice to everyone is, if it's not something you're going to continue to do after this is all over, I don't know, and it's completely outside of your core competencies, then my counsel would be to not get into doing that now. But we still are business owners, and we still have to make money, and we still got to eat, and occasionally go to the grocery store wearing hazmat suits. But it's doing what you can, but also staying who you are. That's what I got.
Perfect, Mike. Thanks. Oh, that was good. Vince Allo, Boston, iHeartMedia, you're up next.
Thanks, Chris. Is everybody seeing the same screen I am with the multiple screens on there?
Looks like the Brady Bunch.
Well, I was about to say, on behalf of Bobby and Cindy, who couldn't make it in the lower corners, I've been duped, as everyone else has been. For years, I thought it was Ann B. Davis as Alice, but we find out today that it's actually Nate Feinberg. So with that said, if anything, I know we have a question in the Q&A from really the most important Vince on this call. As we're all navigating through these uncharted waters, and it's really difficult to wrap our heads around, how do we proceed? How do we deal with this? What do we do? What do we not do? And, we're going to touch on those topics a lot, but, in hearing what Michael was saying and what everybody does for a business here, I think when things happen, there has to be a takeaway. You have to learn something from every life experience. And one of the things that I think we really need to get out to our partners that we're working with, if they're not already doing this, if anything, this really puts a focus on how well you're doing in the digital space. How is your online revenue? Is it productive? Is it up to date? Is it something that can perform in times like these? Because those that check the boxes yes on those questions are going to do okay during times when the consumer can't come through their door. So, that's one of the things that has really emerged as a marketing asset recently, and maybe the last few years, but it's really coming to the forefront now, is being able to have the virtual shopping experience, being able to purchase products online and having it shipped directly to your home. Is your business positioned for something that we are currently going through? So I'm not going to say if, but when we all come out of this on the other side and things can start to slowly get back to normal, the lesson and the takeaway is, ask yourself, is my business, are we, as whatever industry we're in, are we equipped to deal with a scenario that we're going through the next time it could happen again? And if the answer is no, then at least okay, what do I need to work on to better my business moving forward in the future? So that was just something that popped into my head, listening to the before everybody got on the call. But it's vital. Be able to survive in any economic environment, and the one we're in now. Like I said, the consumer can't come to you. You have to be able to bring your product and services to them. If you're not equipped to do that, take this as an opportunity to elevate that in your game, in your business model. So, I mean, it's a tough time for all of us, but one of the things you can do as advertisers, as business people, is just remain top of mind in some fashion, so that the consumer may not be in need of your product or services today, but when that time does come, you want to get first consideration. You want to be top of mind when that consumer may need a new sofa or a new vehicle, or is planning a trip or a dinner out with their loved one or something like along those lines. Be in the top of that consumer's mind now, because you have a captive audience. People are cramped into their home offices. They're looking for things to do. Be a resource. Be connected to these people. If you have no choice and you have to fall off the map completely, that is understandable. But if you have the ability to still do marketing in some capacity, I strongly recommend that you do that, but get a little more creative and different with the message that you're delivering out there.
Oh, that's great, Vince. Creativity definitely wins in these times. And I like that you mentioned there's a captive audience, because it's unprecedented how many people are watching things online and Facebook, et cetera. I'll stay with Boston. Tara Gearhart from T Media. I will let you go next.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, so Tara with T Media Consulting, and our team, like many of the other panelists on here, handle both B2C and B2B consumer businesses. Some of our, B2C businesses have been hit a little bit harder in regards to the retail space and the food space. And I'll kind of mirror what some of the folks have said on here, is that creativity, being empathetic, being authentic, and really understanding how your brand fits into this digital space is going to be the most important takeaway. We all know that how important mobile messaging and ads and display ads and kind of your digital footprint has been over the past 5 years. But now more than ever, with everything kind of coming to an immediate halt, where brick and mortar locations aren't able to see their clients and their prospects, it's definitely changed the game and really kind of forced us all to look a little bit closer as to exactly what our digital strategy entails, and are we doing the most that we can to ensure that we're not only communicating, but that we're also bringing the right messages to who we need to and when we need to. So a couple of the things that we're doing with some of our clients is, we work with a injury lawyer, and they obviously, car accidents and dog bites and, pedestrian workers' comp cases and all of these things are people just aren't at work. They're not out and about. They're not driving. They're not walking. So we last year had put into place a scholarship program for that company to do some earned PR because they weren't really doing anything community specific. And even though that program was rolled out at the beginning of this school year from 2019 to 2020, we are capitalizing on what our messaging to stay connected with folks is going to be during just from social media, from an ads perspective and something like that. He's kind of paused some of those kind of outbound efforts, but what we're focusing on is the earned PR effort and really staying top of mind on all the social channels. So the scholarship program highlighted 10 North Shore towns just around Boston with winners. And what we're doing is we switch pitched and we reached out, sent an email actually just yesterday to the 10 winners and said, hey, we're going to feature you on our social media platform. We're not sure if, what our commencement and award ceremony dinner, that's supposed to happen in May, if that is going to happen. But what we're doing in the interim over the next 4 to 6 weeks is taking the winners, doing a shout out to them every 4 to 5 days on the social feed, highlighting them, tagging them. We're doing one testimonial a week, and then his blog content has switched from just regular helpful and educational things around cases and different reasons why you would contact the law firm in the first place, but has switched to specifically, for example, he wrote a post that was released last week about if you are a first responder and you're on the front lines really dealing with the coronavirus on a daily basis and you catch it, what implications does that have for insurance, liability, all of those types of things. So he's had to, pivot about, 90 degrees from the regular content that he was writing to make it topical but helpful. The last thing that we're trying to do is obviously exploit anyone that's going through, something that's very terrible, especially if you know somebody or someone in your family or you yourself is dealing with the virus. We want to be super empathetic and authentic around that. And we also don't want to be pushing, our services, but we want to stay top of mind in a thoughtful and an appropriate way. And so by shifting the story from, everyone's is reading the Corona headlines, but we're taking those 10 seniors that might not be able to even graduate with their class and highlighting them on all of the social media platforms, tagging them and really sharing their story. we're finding that is a really great community connection in a way that's getting really, really good responses. And so that's just one of the ways that we're trying to pivot from service-focused messaging to community-focused messaging, always being helpful, and all of that stuff. So I'll turn it back to the rest of the team, but getting creative is the only way you're really going to be nimble and survive. Kind of one of these things is really retooling your messaging, getting out there, being helpful, and just staying top of mind, making sure that whatever audience you are connecting with, customers, prospects, employees, it's got to be thoughtful and it's got to be appropriate. And as long as you're doing those things, you'll be successful.
Excellent, Sarah. Thank you. And earned PR can't be understated. Like the fact of good sales and marketing comes with helping people in general. So now if you can help one another at this time, it's a side, I don't want to say it's a side bonus, but it is in the real world. So if you can, elevate your neighbors and your customers and other businesses, I don't want to say it'll benefit you, but it certainly will in the PR world. Next, we have Nate Feinberg, our website expert.
Thanks, Chris. And thank you all for joining. It's nice to see such a large number of people join in on this. So, what has this meant for websites? Obviously, this scenario has affected every business in different ways for each business, no matter what sector you're in. So, I'll just kind of try to outline some of the experiences we've had, especially in the last couple of weeks, how it's affected some of our clients, the different types of clients we have, and then maybe that can kind of relate to some of the folks that are listening. So we have a few different types of clients. We obviously have clients that, come to us where, we do the whole website process from start to finish. We host their website. We have clients, not necessarily a client, but we also do work for marketing agencies where we will build their websites for them. And then we have clients who will come to us where somebody else had built their website. So we either manage it, we help them manage it, we host it and stuff like that. So, a couple different stories for some of our clients. So, one of my clients has a local studio in town. It's not a gym where they do, you go lift weights and stuff like that. It's a studio where they do classes, private training, stuff like that. So we had built their website. So obviously, gyms was one of the first things that this was affected by. So she still wanted to connect and offer that service to her clients because, a lot of gyms are going to feel that if your clients stop, they might not come back, right? So nobody wants their business to stop during this scenario. We still want to connect with our customers. We still want to offer those, our customers, our visitors, everybody. We still want to offer them our services, but we want to do it obviously in a, economically, socially responsible way, because that is, the key right now. So, we built her business from the ground up, and it was a quick switch, really an overnight change where we have a dedicated page. It's a hidden page. She had created a Facebook group, uploading videos, uploading content, class schedules, all that. So, literally within 8 hours, she could still connect and provide that service to her clients. I have another client in town. It's the only local public transportation service. So obviously they serve all different types of people, people with disabilities, elderly people, or simply people who just don't have the means to have their own mode of transportation. Well, you still need to go get groceries. There's still things that people need to do to live. Life doesn't necessarily stop. We're just extremely limited in some of the things that we could do. So we, on their website, we list out their routes. Their each stop on each route in a geographical map. Obviously, all that's changed. It's 100% changed. So it was crucial for them to get messaging to everybody who uses their service. It's extremely crucial to get that messaging out there as soon as possible, because route schedules had changed, pickup times, drop-off times, all that stuff had changed. So, by having a website that's easily adaptable, that's built properly, that you can add on, that has a great foundation, it's really going to give you the best chance to adapt it in times like this, because, unfortunately, scenarios like this are going to come up again. This is not just going to be something that is a one and done. We've seen different cases like this over the years, and who knows what else businesses are going to endure and basically encounter as time goes on. So having a website that can be adapted, that's functional, that either you have control over or somebody else has control over, is extremely important in getting these message out. Your website is your image. People are going to your website to look at you, your business. So it's extremely important. I can't tell you how many websites where I've been looking either for, you know, takeout food or anything during this scenario, and they don't have hours, they don't have a menu. It's extremely complicated. Yes, there's Facebook, but you know, Facebook and your website are essentially two different purposes. It's all to get information out there, but they're used independently in some senses. So couple other clients, couple other stories that I'll go through. So there's a couple clients where we inherited their site. One's a physical therapy studio. Again, a gamut of people, right? You know, depending on who you are, the injuries that you're rehabbing from, I mean, some of that stuff doesn't stop. Life can't stop. Well, again, they were ordered in the state of Vermont, they were ordered to close. So, they were ordered to close their doors. So, but again, their clients are important to them. You know, rehabbing their clients is extremely important. You know, these folks had, you know, for lack of a better word, you know, Betty's son who knows how to build websites do their website. That presents an issue, right? So we have no control. We don't know how to control the website. So we're essentially starting over with these people, where, you know, I just can't go in there, or my team just can't go in there and create one of these pages where they can syndicate content and exercises and whoever out to their clients. So we're essentially starting at the very, very early stages. So where is your website? What is the status of your website? Is your website set up to handle something like this? Do you have control over your website? Do you have the ability to post something on your website extremely fast? Do you rely on somebody else? Do you have a contact? So the status of your website is extremely important in all this. I mean, you know, when this first happened, the first week was kind of silence. And then, you know, I think as everybody kind of got a grasp and the government got a grasp of, you know, the seriousness of this, and it was just a mad dash of phone, emails, calls. I need this, I need that. You know, we need to do this on our website. We need to do that on our website. How are you getting out to your clients? Are you using emails? Are you doing any email marketing? This particular client, they're not doing any email marketing. They can't get out to their clients quickly. You know, instead of posting a Facebook message or something like that, but, you know, between email, between social media, between website, those should all be used at the same time to get this message out to your client. You know, the last scenario I'll kind of point out is I have another client. Again, we inherited their site from another company in town. Their business is closed. They want to sell things online. Their website is not set up to sell things online. So, you know, you know, generally a 2 or 3 day process for them is going to turn into a whole new website, because quite frankly, it's not worth their money to invest into cramming something like this or kind of hacking it together. So it's just smarter to kind of start over. So they're missing out on this opportunity because the previous company who built their website didn't build it in a way where, you know, it's extensible. We can, you know, we can build on it. We can add parts. We can, you know, we can do all that type of stuff. Just some things to think about as we move forward. So I really do believe that this is going to fundamentally change how a lot of companies do business in a lot of different ways. And I think it's going to change how consumers interact with your business as well. I live in a very, very small town. A lot of restaurants around here never did takeout. A large majority of them are doing takeout now. You know, I don't think necessarily that's just going to stop and things are going to go back to normal in a month or 2 months or whenever all this is over, and you know, it's safe to kind of go out again. So, you know, where is your website positioned in all this? Internally, are you structured to deal with this? If you're a retail shop and you need to start selling items online, do you have the current infrastructure to handle that? Shipping, taking payment, inventory management. You know, business has to go on. Business does not slow down. You don't want to close. You have that engagement with your customers. You want to keep reaching out to them. You want to keep connecting to them. During this time, you know, we want to do it in a responsible way. So if you can sell things online, can it literally be done where there is necessarily no hand-to-hand communication? Can you take payment over online over specific forms in your website, stuff like that. So there's a lot of different takeaways from this, but there's also a lot of opportunities. Take this time. A lot of people have time on their hands right now. Take this time to really look at how you operate your business, your revenue streams, and kind of brainstorm some things. But, your website's always going to be your first stop, and that's where people are going to go to get information about your business and learn about what you have. So having a website that can kind of handle those needs and kind of adapt as the economy, as the world, and as business changes is huge in all this. It's absolutely important. So I'd be happy to, obviously, after everybody's done talking, I'd be happy to answer any questions that any of you have.
Thanks, Nate.
Yep.
That was helpful. And I would say, it's nice, having a website that can grow. I mean, it's typically like how all of us build websites, but it's equally nice to have a partner that's there to adapt your website when these things happen. Like, I know Nate personally, and he's been working till 3 a.m., every single night trying to help his customers. Some people will make you a website and you'll never talk to them again. So whether it's one of us or it's somebody else, it's something to ask, like, what happens, when the world decides to go crazy. So we have a couple questions, so we'll hustle through. Sorry to rush Keith and Jacqueline, but Keith, can you go next and just give us a brief example of something you're working with some of your clients?
Sure, and I'll try not to curse. Oh, by the way, if you need content for your website, call me, Keith Hannigan. Anyway, no, it's funny, Chris, because of the fact when I got into marketing, I started at a radio station back in December of 2007. And so it was like baptism by fire with 2008. And with a range of clients, not everybody was affected by the housing crisis and what happened, but with COVID, it doesn't matter. Everybody's being affected by it, from kids to, it doesn't matter, race or what have you. Everybody in some ways being impacted by this. And when it comes to that, you're dealing with human beings. So when you create content now, take it from that perspective that you're dealing not with a customer, but with a person who's going through things, and level with them. Tell them what's happening with you. I think they kind of would be not only refreshed by it, but comforted by it. So a story recently to piggyback off of that was a couple of weeks ago. I'm not going to name who or what, but they kind of lost it over the smallest thing. I mean, it was kind of ridiculous how much. And I remember we all took a step back and we're like, they're kind of grieving with what's happening right now. And all of us are in some way or manner had our lives completely disrupted by this. And we're all handling it different ways. So remember that with whatever you create and whatever you do, that, hey, the person on the opposite end may be taking this a lot harder than you, but they are having to do it and deal with it. So, yeah, I'm trying to be as quick as humanly possible, which is something completely new to me. So here you go.
No, that's good, Keith. And that mirrors what Tara said, being empathetic and authentic, sharing what and how you're helping your customers and how it's impacting your business. That's weight in gold at this point. All right, last but not least, Jacqueline Shipticki.
Yeah, thanks everyone for setting the bar high. I love going last on these types of things. So I'm going to use two different scenarios, one that I've experienced with my clients, and then secondly, from a PPC standpoint. So with my clients, a lot of them have been in a situation where this is trade show season, whether it's a marina client or a different kind of client that goes to trade shows, hosts trade shows. Obviously, those aren't happening anymore. So when those got pulled and canceled, it was like, I'm the newest person in the professional field. So for this to happen, I kind of panicked for like a quick second and then realized, okay, we're missing out on all of these customers, on having this face-to-face interaction with them that's like so crucial to making, to meeting people and just handling business. That how do you do that online? Like, how do you transfer that into a virtual space? So with our marina client, that's a huge purchase to buy a boat. And so how do we get people to trust us and to answer their questions in a virtual way? So we hosted a virtual boat show for them, which really got us in front of these people and talking with them as close to one-on-one as we really could, and to getting them to see our team's faces and to show them the boats in a virtual way. This was really, and this had to happen in a week. It was a week that we decided to cancel it, and I think everybody on our team's blood pressure was very high that week, but we got it done. And it wasn't a question of, oh my gosh, how are we going to get this done? It's we have to do this, and we have to do it now because this is the second best option. And so when people think that, you know, is virtual the same as in person? Obviously not, but when you do it and there are tactics to do it that you can reach these people and really make an impact on them when you put the time into it. So we had to work with our clients to build those relationships online, build those avenues using live video on Facebook, building a web page that hosted all these videos that people could go to. And this is all part of that content creation that I think kind of like everybody was talking about, that is just a resource to people. So in a way, it was almost better because now we have this library of videos from this boat show that people can go to. So that was my experience recently with a client, and we have had other clients that have had their trade shows canceled and don't have the luxury of maybe doing a virtual show like that, but we have talked about a strategy where there are marketing tactics that can get you in front of the people that would have been at those boat shows. So what are those tactics? What do they look like? Does it make sense for your business? Because if these people are still interested in buying something, then we just need to figure out how we're going to reach them. So in terms of like moving strategy completely, it can be done, and you have to figure out what makes the most sense for your business. Every business is different, and every customer or every consumer has been affected differently. So if they're not still buying, if that even is off the table, then how are you going to provide that content, that library of resources to them? Because that is the second most important thing. It's not to sell to them, it's just to educate them. People kind of have the luxury of time now, so why not take advantage of that and build relationships and build that content? And that's kind of what we've been helping our clients do. So I think that kind of wraps up my client experience. And as far as PPC goes, that is just a whirlwind of change in the last week and a half. For Google, so this kind of covers Google, Facebook, Bing or Microsoft ads. The whole landscape has changed, and that's just because people's schedules are different. So it's a couple of things. People's schedules are different. They're not on their phones. They're not on their desktops maybe at the same time of day that they usually would have been when they're working or driving. So mobile is actually significantly down. So people need to adjust their ads to be more desktop focused. Their commute time, there is no commute anymore. So people are actually searching more in that time that they would have been commuting. They're online. So whereas ads would have completely dropped, like that's the most popular times now. So you can't really, if you've been running Facebook ads or any kind of pay-per-click ads, you need to look in that account and you need to see what's going on because it's not the same. And especially keyword-wise, people are searching. The searches are all around COVID-19 and coronavirus. And we were laughing this morning, like, when can the kids go back to school? When are the schools going to open? Like, the searches are just out of this world. So we have some resources that we've found really helpful to help us guide how we need to change our strategy. And it's different across every industry. So whether you're looking to pull your advertising, change your advertising, do more, you need to be careful about or think really strategically on what makes the most sense. Where are your consumers? Are they buying? If they're not buying, what are they doing? So it just translates right over to PPC. The worst thing that we've tried to prevent from happening is pulling from PPC completely, because the one thing that isn't going to change is when, and we said, like, when we're all through this, you want to keep up your traffic online. If you've been running ads and you pull them completely right now, you will lose like any market share that you currently have. And that's really like, even if you lower the budget, there's just strategy around everything. And so really I could talk forever about this because there's data for days, like, and I've been sucked into it, but for every industry is different. So I can't really talk generally about that, but what I can say is that there is something that you can do when it comes to pay-per-click. It's just figuring out what makes the most sense for your industry, because every industry is different and every industry is being affected in this differently. So I think that
Perfect.
wraps up my
Yeah.
rant.
Perfect, Jacqueline. Thanks for sharing that. She's been heavily into the trade shows. I think over a month ago, they started canceling the European trade shows that Jacqueline was working on. So she was prepared for what was coming to the US. But the PPC, I just want to further comment on that. You know, the 101 here is that you can keep your same ad budget and you're going to reach more people for less money. Everybody's pulling back, so things cost less. So if you're in the game, even minimally, you're going to get, you know, huge strides from that PPC game. Okay, so thank you guys. I appreciate all that insight. Hopefully that sparks some questions. First question, Vinny Rua. How you doing, Vince? He has 10 years of content development that covers men's clothing. So I think probably a good question for Mike Nelson. What does the panel feel about regular Facebook video or Facebook Live covering this type of content? And the follow-up, is there better video than Facebook Live?
Did you want me to go first, or is that?
No, I think it's appropriate for you to answer this. You're the video guy.
Yeah. Hi, Vinny. We met a long time ago. I still haven't ordered any custom suits, but I should. So I think the thing about Facebook Live is this, guys. If you're going to do it, you have to do it correctly. The thing about the content game, and it doesn't matter if it's pre-recorded, Facebook Live, Instagram Live, whatever it is, it has to be interesting. If it's not going to be interesting or adding value to the people that are viewing it, no one's going to watch it. You're wasting time, money, and resources. Don't do it. I think there is a place for Facebook Live for everyone, but slow down for a minute, think about what you're doing, and answer two questions. How am I bringing value to the viewer? And is this interesting? And if you can't come up with good answers for those two things, then just stay off of Facebook Live, especially. Throw some videos up on YouTube and be done with it, but stay away from, because, and here's the reason behind that. The minute you put out bad content, anything you do is going to be viewed as bad content. So like you put out a real bad Facebook Live video and people are like, oh God, that's terrible. And then the next time you put out, and it's so great, but no one even gives it a chance because it sucked so bad the last time. Okay, so slow down. Is it interesting? Am I bringing value to the people watching it? That's my take on Facebook Live.
No, that's perfect. And how would he reach more people beyond his current audience? So Jacqueline, that's probably you from the digital advertising side.
Yeah, so I agree. And to go off of what Mike said, like if you can answer those two questions and do decide to go Facebook Live, that's just another piece of content that you can use later on. So by targeting the right people, you can boost that video on Facebook. You can make it an ad. There are a number of different ways that you can use that content later on. And even if it makes more sense, like even if the time of day or, you know, you're really confident that it was a great video, then there are ways to just launch it at a different time and with a little budget behind it so that you know you're reaching people that are interested outside of your current network that will see that video. So again, it's just, you know, rather than throwing 20 bucks at it to boost it randomly, like again, that strategy behind it and that targeting is just super important. And as long as you're confident that the video was good, then definitely boosting is an option.
Yeah, I think one of the things you can consider during these times is if you're doing any marketing, broadcast marketing, and you have an influencer that's doing your messaging, having that influencer deliver your message can have a much larger impact than, you know, Joey Bag of Donuts, who works at the front desk, or whoever that person may be. So an example could be if your target consumer is adults 55 or 64 plus, however it may be, and you have a relationship with your news talk station that really soars in that demo, talk to them about having the influencer do the messaging for you. They're still operating, so they're in studio. They can do a professionally done video that can then be pushed out through that station's social media from the client. So it would be, because I know, Chris, you asked how can they reach more people. This is one way to do it, where it's not on the timeline of the radio station, for example, or the client. It's a targeted message that is sent out to, demographically targeted, geographically targeted. You can peel the layer as many layers as you want and get as granular as you want, but utilize it coming from someone that particular target consumer may have a one-to-one relationship with, and that would be, could be a radio personality. We use those a lot here in the Boston market to promote socially, and that really takes a smaller group of people that happen to see that client's Facebook video that may be on their page, and it expands the reach dramatically. And one thing to consider, and I know, Michael, you were talking about it, is about the content you're putting out there. If you're considering doing a Facebook video, do some prep and actually research what other people are putting out there for videos, and step back and ask yourself, is that what I want my message to look like? And then look in the lower left corner of that video, and if you see it's been out there for 2 weeks and there's 3 likes on it, they don't have an audience to begin with. So you want to be sure that you have the audience built in place first and foremost, but then again, perhaps you can utilize an influencer to have them expand the audience that you're reaching.
It's a good idea. So to sum it up, create good content, enhance it with influencers if you can, which could be simply customers, and then possibly put a little bit of money behind it to expand past Facebook's algorithm. Like, Facebook's algorithm is going to limit how much your content is seen. If it's very popular, more people will see it. But if you throw $20 at it, that opens up the realm. And certainly you want to target the right people, but that's kind of the secret sauce on creating good content. There's an old adage in marketing that says everything that you do either helps or hurts your business. So every message that you put out there, if you use that as guardrails when you're doing video or anything else, make sure you're providing value to your customers. All right, next question. Lee Byers at Apollo. Curious exactly what kind of content the client that Chris mentioned was used to be informative that led to more customer interaction. So Lee, if you're talking about the boutique that I was talking about before, I can speak to that a little bit. Sorry to jump in on the panel. So one of the boutiques we work with, she adapted a content strategy where she was having her customers show off different fashion elements that they've used. She did a virtual fashion show for when people were able to be in the store. And then more recently, she's been doing things like creating good content, like what other content can I help people do? So things like showing live closet organization. She's just really in tune with her customers and what they want, and she's not just selling them. So again, she's trying to be helpful in other ways than just materials, but what you're starting to see is her messages are going through the roof. People are ordering product, and it's a great success story for a retail shop that's in a very dangerous area right now. So create good content in that specific situation. I know you're in the heating and cooling world, so it might be a little different in your world, but that's just something that she did that worked very, very well. All right, next one. We have Karen Paul. I'd like to know how to balance offering helpful advice or resources directly related to COVID-19 and positive, uplifting messaging. I feel like there is a need for a mixture to be empathetic, but also provide actions that people can take. Tara, you want to jump on that one?
Yeah. So, Karen, that's a great question. It's something that is personally on involved in our conversations on a regular basis. Is how do you make sure that you're, getting information out there, but that you're also uplifting people and not kind of, leading to any fear mongering or increasing anxiety around what's already a very challenging situation. So We kind of operate on, for some of our clients that have gone to what we call social drumbeats, which is your baseline of communication for your brand, for SEO purposes, for keeping consumers aware that your channels are open, is we've been doing at least something fun or totally unbrand related, a really nice picture of, you know, springtime walking outside in nature. I mean, we're in New England, so we can go on hikes and stuff like that, which is, we're super happy. I'm still waiting for the April snowstorm because that's Boston winter. We'll give a nice little surprise. But for the most part, the spring weather has been around for a few weeks now, and it's, you know, flowers are popping up and birds are singing, and people want a little bit of a distraction from, you know, the doom and gloom headlines of number counts and direness and closings and, you know, your children are home and trapped and never going back to school again. So people want to get a little bit away from that. And, you know, as we've heard from other panelists on the call today, social media interaction has never been greater. You know, people are looking for a way. They can't walk by their office and talk with a friend at the water cooler. They can't have that kind of human connection on a day-to-day basis where you would have that coffee talk or water cooler talk and kind of get your, you know, what are you doing for the weekend? Oh, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, kind of creating a little bit of an environment that's appropriate for your brands and appropriate for the consumers that you're trying to talk with. But think about something that might uplift your spirits. And we've been posting it. I personally practice a lot of meditation. And so I find myself, you know, I'm kind of being like, okay, take a couple extra deep breaths before, you know, you kind of, you know, look at a situation and really like assess what's going on. And so thinking about, you know, posting a calming picture or reminding people this is super stressful and this is very unnatural. So if you feel overwhelmed and if you feel anxious, you're not alone. There's a ton of people that are trying to make very high pressure decisions, and every day can seem like, you know, an hour is like the longest time. So, you know, I would say, obviously you want to make sure that you're speaking to your audience, to your customers, to your prospects. So don't just, you know, throw an image out there, but think calming pictures, pretty graphics, and changing it up, and something, again, that's true to you. If someone was to call you and talk with your business, you don't want to, you know, put something out there that's totally not something you'd ever say or something you don't want or something you don't truly believe in. But it's totally fine to break it up. So long-winded answer for a call down action item would be like a, you know, every 7 to 10 days, kind of filtering in one of those, just kind of, you know, still on brand, but non-salesy, non-service related type of positivity, like we got this type of messaging.
Perfect. Love it. So thanks, Karen. Thanks, Tara. Air Cavalieri. So it's probably a question for Vince and Keith. Do you think local radio will be listened to more during this time? Keith, you want to go first?
I'll defer it to Vince because he's currently in the field. But
okay.
Actually, I'm currently in my office, but which happens to be in a field. I put the stunt curtain up behind me, the prop. Cavi, how you doing? And I know he kind of narrowed that question down to the Rutland radio market, and that's a market that I spent, you know, many years working in before I came to Boston and met the likes of Tara about 13 years ago. But yeah, I think that there is still a need for local radio to deliver compelling content and information, as well as giving local advertisers the platform to get their word out. One of the things that it's regardless of what platform you're using, if you don't have the ideal target consumer specifically outlined, then nothing else matters. You need to determine who it is you're going after and what you want to tell that person. You know, I think, Tara, you may be familiar with this too, the Jerry Tabio form of marketing. You know, there has to be a target, an outcome, the person, the place, and the season. Who is the person you want to reach? What do you want them to do or believe? Where do you want them to have this take place, and during what time period? You have to check all those boxes, and I think local radio can do that for the most part. In Rutland, you have to look at also what are your competitors doing or not doing. If you have an opportunity to own the lane, then you can certainly flourish in that. I think when you're talking about local marketing on the radio specific to Rutland, I know I've heard your commercials, Eric, and they do a good job with them, but I've often believed that the business goes where it's invited. Who better to do the invitations than the actual person, if you have the ability to do that? And I know from one of your side hobbies for many years, you definitely have the voice and the delivery to do that. I would recommend putting yourself behind it and start to brand your business and have you be the voice and the face of it moving forward. So I think we can all recite many advertisers that have used effective ownership or manager to do the inviting, whether it's the out part, the tag of the commercial, or the entire 15, 30, or 60 duration. I just personally, Eric, I think that would be something that you would probably benefit from, is putting your personalized touch on it. And just like politicians do, they ask you to do something. I ask for your vote. Don't be afraid to reach out and say, I ask for you to, I want you to call me. I'm asking for your business. Give us a chance to show you what we can do. Here's our number, here's our website, and we're located right here. And I think if you build up the right amount of frequency, it's two things: what you say times how many times you say it. If the message is compelling, it's to the right consumer, and you say it enough times, you'll get a result out of it.
To piggyback off of Vince, it's funny because I know Eric as well. And I will say this, with this whole story, people are really tied into what's happening locally because they want to know who's been infected, where they've been infected, how close it is in proximity. So they are going more local probably than ever. And second, and Eric, this is kind of a tip for you, a radio station group in Rutland, Vermont recently reached out to us. And let's just say they slashed their rates dramatically. So if you're in a position, you can easily take ownership for almost 50 cents on the dollar right now. And if you're in a really good position, you can kind of do what I did and say, hey, I would love to have those rates for the entire year. They're probably not going to take advantage, not going to say yes, but it may be the time to ask the question.
Yeah, if you don't ask, you're not going to get. And to piggyback off of Keith's piggyback, that's something that we're doing in our market here in Boston. And I think you have to position yourself. We as marketers, not so much the partners that are on the call with us, we have to put our best foot forward in times like these and say, look, business can still be had, but we also understand that there's a strain on the purse strings and the pocketbook and the wallet, however you want to term it. So we're still giving you the opportunity to have share of voice in our market to your consumer, but at a fraction of what it was. And, you can obviously put parameters on there. This is good only through June 1, and then work your way up from there. But be careful the line that you walk with, just like people that are trying to sell their product to consumers. You're not trying to sell them. You're simply being a resource. Say, look, we understand what we're going through. Having said that, here's what we're doing to try to help you through these times. For a limited time, you can get this for blank. And it could be the same way in retail, any category really, and 50 cents is better than zero. And at this particular time, you have to view it as we're trying to lessen our losses. And if you're able to do that and position yourself as a partner for these people that we work with during times like these, I've been told that other companies in our market that do the same thing that I do have demanded that people honor their contracts. And I'm like, that's unheard of. If they're not open, it makes 0 sense. And hopefully down the road, when things do, not if, but when things do come back to normal, they'll look at people that were there with them, sitting right next to them, going through this journey with them throughout these difficult times, and say, look, we appreciate what you were able to do for us. Here's what we want to do moving forward. There's no harm in being a sustaining resource for people during times like this. So
to sum up, it's a good time to buy because advertising across the board is is inexpensive and cheaper than it typically is. And it's still about creating good content and creating the right socially responsible content. So thanks, guys. Brian Conlin, I'm hearing a lot about Facebook Live, super helpful information for B2B marketing. Can or should the same concepts apply to other platforms like LinkedIn? Let's go with Tara. You want this one, or Jacqueline?
Yeah, I was going to say some of the things that, like, half of the clients that we work with are very niche B2B. They are more in like the software as a service or systems as a service type category, which systems now, platforms, workflow automations, things like that, with the staff being majority virtual, people are like, their industry, they're getting calls, they're still getting, requests on the website and things like that. So they're still seeing prospects come in because companies are realizing how not set up for this type of events that their, back-end processes are. But even while that's happening, we're still towing the line of being helpful and being empathetic. And so some of the ways that we're doing that, not necessarily through LinkedIn Lives or video or like Facebook Lives necessarily directly for B2B, but it's using video content. So we've done like a message from the CEO. We've done a message from the CTO. We've done a message to business analysts. So they're short little 40 to 60 second pre-recorded videos. We have them skinned with an editor so that the branding donut is, the 5 to 10 second in front and the 5 to 10 second in back, so that there's always some sort of call to action, like, talk to one of our, support team members or something like that. But these are things like, for example, one of the workflow automation companies, they sell to, Fortune 100 companies and they have a product specific to SAP and ERP upgrade and cutover projects. So these are projects that affect, first they take 1 to 2 years of planning. They affect usually global offices, meaning if a company is going through a very large merger acquisition, how do you, get all your systems in one place? And so that's like a, 1 in 1 million type of client that they're trying to reach. But how they're reaching them is through these short form videos and then also through blog content. So for example, we just published, the CTO of the company actually put together what the virus looks like in a workflow automation graphical design diagram. So not a typical use case of what like their workflows would be if you're processing, prescriptions for pharmacies or things like that. That's the actual function of that type of a product. But to capitalize on what's going on, it was like an interest piece of, hey, this is if the virus was on paper, and if you were looking at this from date of incubation to wait time to number of exposures to people to, okay, you're a carrier, now what happens? Oh, you're here, okay, you're going to a hospital bed. Oh, you're here, you're recovering, you're unfortunately not recovering, like those types of situations, to have it graphically designed. And then we put that on a spin to medical professions, talking about how, yes, this is what the virus would look like in a graphical form. That was a little bit tongue in cheek. However, the real use case is patient routing, information, filling of prescriptions and things like that. So we tied it back to real use cases that hospitals and medical organizations and pharmacies are dealing with right now. But, the CTO also had a little bit of, like an interest piece with, okay, if we're putting this to paper, what this would look like. So again, it goes back to the creativity piece. If I had said to the CEO in 3 months, you'd be writing a blog article about the COVID virus in relation to what it would look like actually mapped out in our workflow automation tool. They would be like, yeah, right, that's crazy town. But yet here we are. It's topical. It's something that people find interesting to read. And it's also being helpful at the end of the day. So for B2B, the same kind of sentiments will apply, in the sense of you can't just go out there and hammer over your head like we're number one or like we're the best and blah, 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 blah. That very well might be true, but you've got to tie it back to how you're the best, why this matters now, why someone should care, how this is going to help them at the day-to-day. Because if you're not specifically hitting pain points and challenge points that business owners, management team, executives that are handling the day-to-day are dealing with, then your message is going to get lost. So that's how we're utilizing LinkedIn and Facebook for those guys, for the very B2B businesses like that have really like the unsexy messaging. It's, you know, it's very specific. It's a specific tool. It's a specific system.
Hey, Chris, can I add something here about social videos and things of that nature, even on LinkedIn? And Michael, you touched on it at the outset about, you know, if the first video you put out there is not compelling and it's not good, then basically you've set yourself up for moving forward. You're not going to reach that audience that you're looking to reach. And I think one of the things that people have a tendency to do or forget is, if you're going to put out a video, is practice it first and foremost before you post it. And there's nothing wrong with doing a sample video, posting it to yourself, and giving an idea of, okay, this is what my consumer is going to see when I post this and it goes live. There's that. Condense it. Less is more, shorter is better. It doesn't need to be 2 minutes video. It can be 15 to 20, 30 maybe at the most. You look at all the pre-roll videos out there, they preach that it should be 15, in some cases 30, because you're going to lose your consumer at a certain amount of time. So condense it down, practice it, rehearse it, and then you know, be sure you may even want a storyboard what your series of 10 posts is, so you don't do one and then you're searching for, you know, a month and a half goes by before you do another one. So at least maybe you do one weekly. But if you want to make it a 12-week series, then have each episode mapped out before you start and post your first one. That's my soapbox. That's my soapbox.
On there too, guys. And kind of adding on or building on what everybody else is saying, it's, you know, a couple of things to keep in mind too. And, you know, I agree. I think that the shorter videos are definitely better. It's easier to keep someone's interest over 15 seconds than it is over 5 minutes. But also, and I'm sure that everybody here that does any sort of social media marketing right now can attest, is that Facebook almost punishes you if your video is less than 3 minutes right now. So, because we're putting out short videos, and every time we post them, Facebook is like, oh, we'd like it, you would get more views if your video was over 3 minutes, because they like to throw those little ads in the middle of your video. But all that being said, make sure that if you are using your cell phone, that you have a newer model cell phone, because like the newer iPhones and newer Androids, they have a good camera, they have a good microphone, so it's pretty easy to get good audio and video with those. But like if you have an iPhone 6 Plus, that thing's garbage. It's gonna look bad. And so, like, again, it's the equipment you're using really does matter. And you can, like, you know, you look at everybody's little videos right now on the monitor, and we've all got different video quality of what's going on depending on what situation. Like, I moved my whole room around just so I could have the best lighting right now, the clearest shot. So just make sure that when you are putting those videos out, regardless of channel, regardless if you're B2B or B2C, just make sure that, again, it's a quality video, and part of that is how it looks and how it sounds.
So that's great. I think you're going to hear, and you've been hearing this from marketers forever, that video is king. You know, we've been pushing video on a lot, you know, many of our clients forever, and everybody's a little little wonky about video and don't want to be on camera, but now's the time to embrace it. You know, it's okay to make a mistake. You certainly want to practice. You know, it's okay. If you're going to use a phone, make sure you turn the phone landscape versus portrait. I mean, there's a lot of like 101s there, but Brian, just to finish that, you know, being able to, oops, Google's talking to me. Being able to show a video to your clients, whether it's on LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter or even your website, you know, it's certainly like, it's a good opportunity now to just get in front of the camera and just speak to them about something that's well thought out and well planned. But thanks for the question. All right, next question. Good question right here. People are spending a lot more time at home and traveling less and likely watching more TV. Would you recommend allocating a much larger percentage of your marketing budget on TV? Vince is shaking his head no. Mike's shaking his head no.
I'm with Vince on this too. Unless your target market is over the age of 64, in which case then definitely spend more money on television. But if they're under the age of 55, then television's probably not much use to you.
Yep. We have a stat that we use, and I'm trying to get the source. The source is too small for me to read, but I will source it in an email if need be. As it stands now, in the state of Massachusetts, 50% of consumers in Massachusetts have cut the cord, which, you know, a lot of people associate, I'm going to advertise on TV and I'm going to use cable, and that's great. But if that's all you're using, then you're missing half of the potential market that you could be by not utilizing marketing in the OTT space. Because, Michael, you hit it right on the head. The consumer of television, you may think that they are glued to it now more than ever. It may be so. They're watching a screen, but they're watching multiple screens. They're watching on their device, their tablet, their iPad, their cell phone, their laptop, their big screen in the living room. But a lot more and more people have made the decision to cut the cord. I think if anybody is watching social media now, there's a show on Netflix that everybody is talking about. It's not on broadcast TV. Now, there isn't ad spaces available on Netflix, but the point is that's a streaming television service, and that's where you can plug in and reach consumers that are unplugged with the conventional TV and cable, and still deliver your message in a targeted fashion. You can target auto intenders. You can target people in a certain zip code. You can target people by a certain demographic. So, for example, if Tara and I are I'm at her place, social distancing aside, the messages that she's going to get served are going to be different than if she were watching getting OTT delivery at our house, because of the different, obviously male, female, different age group, different hobbies and interests and stuff like that, different zip codes. So I would recommend, if you're going to do TV marketing, is to step back and perhaps consider utilizing the OTT space, number one, and number two, targeted streaming from radio. There's more smart speakers in homes than there are homes. Who's guilty? Put your hand up.
I have 4. So
you have 4. How many homes? Chris has 1 home, 4 speakers. I have 1 home, 2 speakers. The point being, people are still getting their information from broadcast radio, but they're getting it through streaming devices. Just like you can in the OTT space, you have the opportunity to target geographically, demographically, hobbies, interests, someone who may have a lease expiring for a car. They could be in the market for a new car if you're an auto dealer. There are so many ways and so many vehicles, pardon the reference, that you can get really granular and target consumers in a number of ways, and that eliminates the waste that a lot of marketing gets lost in.
And I think it's important to know that a radio guy is telling you that. Somebody who's had his career based in traditional is showing the value of digital. I think anybody on this panel is going to tell you that don't just choose one tactic. An omni-channel approach is the best approach always. But you certainly want to hedge your bets. Go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, don't make any drastic decisions with your budget either. The last thing you want to do is kind of oh, this is a great idea, and then pull all your marketing from one spot to another spot. Definitely talk to somebody, research the options. Just don't do it all at once.
So I want to back up just a little bit.
Real quick, Chris.
Go ahead.
The major value in television used to be sports. Was live sports.
Right.
And guess what's not happening right now?
Right.
So it just, even though a lot of people are watching it, nobody's watching what was the number one moneymaker in all of TV.
So no, it's clear to say that nobody's really a fan of TV, and I'm going to disagree a little bit, because I think you have to dive a little deeper into your typical 2-a-day run that most people in TV do. But if you have a program that's number one in America and it's in front of the exact consumer that you want to be in front of, I don't see like a problem with shifting that. It's hyper specific buying when it comes to, I want to buy this wedding show because I have people in the wedding industry. Like you can adjust your schedule as opposed to blasting it out to everybody. So I think there's some creative ways to stay in TV if it makes sense with who you're trying to target. It's the same thing for direct mail. Direct mail is typically a horrible investment in marketing. It works for some companies, but right now, guess what? Everybody's home and people are opening their mail and spending a little more, an extra second or two, reading that direct mail.
Yeah, we're finding that targeted email is thriving well in this space right now, because people are on their computers more. They're checking their emails perhaps more, and when they're not on their computers, they're on their mobile devices, and you have the opportunity to target them. Any marketing vehicle has its good pros and cons. But like Jacqueline said, don't put all your eggs in one basket. There are so many ways that you can take a marketing budget and say, look, this is my consumer. This is what I want to do. This is what my KPI is. Put something together for me that's going to maximize my dollars and get me the most results from that. Because the days of putting a 4-color ad in the weekly paper, those are gone. The days of buying the morning news on television, those days are gone. There's still ways that you can have multiple touch points, Bob Price, with consumers that are out there. Just work with your partner in the marketing field to develop a program that's going to be it'll get you the most bang for your buck, I guess you could say.
So I want to ask a question. We've been taking this approach that everybody is working from the agency perspective or has a partner. What if you don't have a partner and you're a solo entrepreneur and you are running the show? How do we approach tackling all of these different things at once? Because I think that might be helpful. And I'll leave it to you and whoever wants to answer, because that's for everybody.
I say you don't. I think if you're a solo entrepreneur, you have to fish where the fish are, and you really have to do some research and figure out like where I only have so much time in the day. So where are my efforts best spent? And if you're a photographer and it's Instagram, then it's Instagram. Own it. If you're a commercial cleaning company and it's LinkedIn, then own LinkedIn. I think from a solopreneur standpoint, I think you have to own one channel until you can afford to hire an agency to help you. Because again, you guys know the value of an agency is that they are the experts on all of the platforms for you so that you can focus on your core competencies. From a solo entrepreneur standpoint, you don't have that kind of time to be able to be a commercial cleaner and be the best commercial cleaner you can be, and then also understand LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Google Analytics, Google ads. I mean, just the Google universe alone is mind blowing, let alone getting into any of the other channels. So I think if you're a solo entrepreneur, figure out where the fish are and just fish it to death. I'm trying not to swear, Keith. Fish it to death.
Tough, bro.
All right.
Well, I was going to say the other thing too to keep in mind is that the beauty of digital ads and social marketing is that you can pretty immediately shift messaging. So today at 3:00 at the end of this call, if you wanted to get an image or a graphic or something up, you can social it out there. What I do want to remind people of is marketing's blocking and tackling, and I take the approach of it's slow and steady and it wins the race. It's consistent efforts, not flurries because you've got 3 weeks and then everybody's back to work and things are going regular and then we don't do anything and our channels go silent for 2 months. it's slow and steady wins the race. So you've really got to, make a point of saying, okay, I'm going to own this. I'm going to, target this. This is what I'm going to say. And then also with making decisions on pulling back, Google takes time to ramp up. It also takes time to ramp down. So with your digital ad presence and market share spend, it's not as easy as a light switch of turning it on and off. So also, stay the course on that as much as you possibly can, because a lot of the time that you or your agency that you work with, it takes time to set those campaigns up. Let them work their magic during this time, because if you just shut it off, it's like the flywheel. You're going to have to restart that momentum again, and build that back up. And sometimes that takes a week or two. Sometimes it takes 3 months. So just always keep that in mind as you are looking at all the different levers that you can pull in combination to get the results that you want, not only during this really challenging time, but your regular marketing efforts.
I recently read about a guy back in 2008 whose specialty was in-ground fiberglass pools. He sold pools during housing crisis. I mean, that's awful. It's like having a hug-a-thon right now. And he went out and he answered all these questions. He answered every single question that either somebody posed to him or were just generic questions being posed to the pool industry. He took those questions, answered them, then they became blogs. And those blogs eventually became ebooks. And he started just saturating people that cost nothing. And he came off as an expert. I just did all this organic, and eventually in 2013, I read that he became the most highly searched pool company worldwide. Take this time, prove your expertise in what you do. Like Michael said, we have a great idea of all the vehicles that are out there, but your industry better than we do. Be that expert of your industry, provide value, and show it. Don't tell us, show us.
Let's build relationships with clients at this time. I don't want to understate whether picking up the phone and calling clients during this time. Use the time that you have. Like you can be hooked on the news and doom and gloom, but use the time you have to either generate content or make a connection or try to help somebody. There's opportunity here. Whether it's we're hoping that it's financial, and we're hoping that it helps us sustain our business, and it certainly will. But take the time that you finally have the luxury of. I want to
Chris, I'm sorry, real quickly. You're absolutely right. In times like this, we had a conference call last week with a major regional client, and we said, who does events only, and obviously events aren't happening, at least for the first half of the year, maybe longer. But he said, were we still going to do this? And we all agreed, yeah, because when business returns, we're going to have this conversation anyway. Why not have it now when we have time, set the table, start working on a plan, so when things start to come back to normal, we've already had the discussion, the plan has been put together, we just have to push start on it. But to totally, check out from people that you deal with, whether you're in retail, if you have a database of your consumers, and Chris, you're right, send out a how are you email to them. No sales pitch, just touch base with them. We're thinking of you during this time. We will get through this. Please let us know if you have any questions. Something as simple as that puts the personalized touch on, and I think it's important to do during these times.
And that's the recommended narrative. That's what we're recommending to all of our clients, is just to be there for people. And, even if you're a home builder, hey, I know you're not going to build a home right now, but here's some galleries. Check out some of the cool stuff that we've done over the years. Read some of our reviews and testimonials. You got time to waste, and people are clicking away left and right. I want to back up to the practicality of, you guys are all talking about marketing working and making sure that, we're keeping the conversation going. Nate, from your perspective, what does it take from the website to be able to implement advertising campaigns like remarketing? If somebody goes to your website and I want to send them an ad after they're already interested in your product, what does that look like from the back end that has to be in place to, quote, make sure the marketing works?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question, Chris. So, you know, a lot of these conversations have been based around campaigns, based around content, based around kind of adapting, you know, our marketing right now. But you know, no matter what you do, every campaign that you do, it's being driven to a specific place, whether it be social media, whether it be at your website. There's some sort of conversion there that you want to measure. So when it comes down to your website, having control over your website to be able to track those actions, to be able to track those users, where they're coming from, what specific campaigns they're coming from, tracking them on different social media platforms, or even tracking them in Google Analytics is extremely important. Data-driven marketing decisions are the key to success. So when you're working with these marketing agencies and these digital marketing agencies, you know, they're going to deliver you results based off of data. And they're also going to tailor those campaigns based off of the data and the metrics that's being driven, in most cases, to your website. So there are tracking codes. You know, I think probably everybody knows, you know, there's a Facebook tracking code. You know, there's general analytics tracking codes. There's multiple different tracking codes that you can inject and insert onto your website that will help you track the success of these campaigns. And also, you know, as economic times are changing, campaigns that you've done in the past might not be as effective right now as some of these panelists have mentioned, because, you know, a lot of different shopping habits, a lot of different messaging, everything's changing. People want to change messaging from, you know, buy our product to, you know, we care about you, we want to be responsible. Here's some things that we're still doing, we're still offering. You know, so the key to being able to track those actions on your website is extremely important, because no matter what size business you are, I mean, every penny counts, and smart investments and data-driven investments for your company is huge, especially in times like this,
And all those data codes are free. So you just need to
Yep.
get them into your website. Because right now, if more people are on your website and that code is not there, you don't even have the ability to track and serve those people when you're in a position later on to give them, you know, to send them an advertisement. So audiences are building up left and right. They're interested in what you're doing. It's the same thing. They just may not be ready to buy right now. So tactics like remarketing or retargeting, you know, it's used a couple different ways, are super beneficial down the road. But just the 101, give Nate a call. He'll put the code in, and, you know, 15 minutes. I have no idea how long it takes you. So,
Max.
but yeah. So, all right, one more question. We got another question, and we're wrapping up here, guys. So again, I appreciate everybody's time. Curious on your opinion on healthcare marketing and messaging for elective surgeries. I'll say that again. Curious on your opinion on healthcare marketing and messaging for elective surgeries. So obviously, we all know. Let's set the parameters here. That elective surgeries have all been canceled across the board in just about every state. So, is it a good idea to market elective surgeries? Is it not a good idea?
I think so. I'll kind of start this one, because I think this goes off of what we were talking about building that relationship. If you're not able to make that sale or make that appointment right now, and so companies, or whether it's a private company or in the hospital, like, they're still able to connect with the people that want the surgeries later on, whatever the elective surgery may be. So continuing to be recognized online and keeping their presence up is still important at this time, but pulling back the language on there's this deal or this sale or buy now, like, it's just going to be learn more, schedule an appointment to learn more. Like, the language is just changing to be conscious of the environment right now. But I don't think, and I mean, if anybody else has an opinion on this, but I don't think like that necessarily making relationships and educating people should be pulled back at this point. Like, I think if people still want these to be done in the future, they're still going to be looking it up and doing all the research they can right now because they have the time. And they'll just get it later on when this is all over.
And they may be looking for other options. So maybe, maybe
Correct.
they don't like the physician, or they don't like, the PA that they're working with. We worked with the stem cell, that this is the perfect time for people that have time to research things like stem cells. Are they effective? So having your message out there for somebody that's interested, is certainly a good idea, I think.
We also, so I've got a few clients that are in the healthcare market, and all of them do elective treatments and surgeries. And so what we're focusing on right now with them is just starting the process. Like we can't get you into the office right now. You can't come in and have that, whatever surgery. But what we can do is we can do a virtual visit where we can start to get your case history. We can start to get some of the information that we need. We can start to talk about what you're hoping to get out of the whole procedure or whatever it's going to be. And definitely looking at beginning a process that's going to take months before you're even on the table anyway. So with the idea that, let's get some of the stuff out of the way that we can do now, so that when, quarantine is lifted, that you're able to get in immediately and get, and some of the procedures are actually into the realm of treating like chronic pain and things like that. So even those, like in some cases, they can still get in and get those done. So we don't want to pull those completely off the table, because again, those are things that are helping people. These people they're living their lives in pain all the time. And you want to continue to help people in any way that you can. So, but it's just keeping the narrative going, keeping the conversation moving forward.
That's a great point, Michael. It's I have a friend of mine in Connecticut that owns a gym, and his major income source is personal training. And I spoke with him and I said, this has got to be killing you. He said, no. He says, I'm in front of the computer from 6 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night doing virtual training for his clients. So he's still able to, he goes, this is my takeaway. He goes, I found and opened up a completely unheard of at that time, up until 2 weeks ago, an unheard of revenue source for him that he can now do mobily, virtually, and all that stuff. So Michael, you're right. You mentioned that word virtual. That's a key word right now.
Oh yeah.
And I think Vince mentioned it in his question to us about being able to do virtual fittings for suits and stuff like that. If I'm not mistaken, I think he brought that up. Explore that avenue, because at the outset, there's got to be a takeaway from what we're going through. And if that helps your business moving forward and you're able to survive and actually thrive in times like this, because you've added this element to your business portfolio, kudos to you. I think that's something that people may be overlooking and say, how am I going to do that? And Michael, you hit it right on the head. If these elective surgeons are able to consult with their people virtually, then that's the lane that they have to choose. And during these times, at least they're interacting with a pool of potential consumers for when that time comes, when business picks back up. They've already got a head start on their competition that maybe decided to take the route of, I'm just going to disappear because I can't do business.
Yeah. I think the caveat though is that you have to make sure, and I said this earlier, is that if you are going to invest in virtual infrastructure, it needs to be something that you're going to carry on with after this is all over, because you don't want to go and invest in a very short term solution that's just going to die off and go away as soon as people are able to go about their normal everyday lives. So it's like, even like with the yoga studio, like where every yoga studio out there right now is rushing to Zoom and doing online classes with Zoom. And we decided to not do that because we don't need more online yoga right now. There's tons of it out there. But what we did learn from this is that we should always have some sort of digital offering. And so that's what we're doing right now, is exploring what we want that digital offering to look like, so that when this is all over, we now have a solid digital offering that's going to be permanent. And then if we ever find ourselves in this situation again, we're set up and already prepared and already making money in that space. So it's
exactly,
you just got to be careful with it, but virtual is definitely something to look at.
Well, that's exactly how you generate revenue, by coming up with these ideas. Virtual or not, both of you are coming up with new ideas on how to develop new methods for business. So, and that's what it's all about, really thinking around this situation, like Tara said, with you know, the crazy graphic about the COVID. I mean, I think that's amazing. Like Nate said with takeouts, I bet you a bunch of those restaurants are going to start doing takeout more. So if you can find a revenue stream, it doesn't hurt to test it. But Mike says, don't give away the cow here. Like, you know, stick to what you're best at. So, okay, a couple more questions, then we'll call it. I don't want to keep you guys. I know it's 2 hours on a Tuesday. Would it make more sense to post a video you feel is relevant if it gets participation, and then and only then to boost it?
Yes.
Check, done.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the answer is yes. When you're developing content, I'll jump on this one. When you're developing content, if it is trending or if it is relevant, it certainly is going to perform better. There are lots of content creators out there that look at what's trending and then write a post aligned with it. Tara did, do you remember the Captain Jack? Please tell the Captain Jack story. You're on mute. You're on mute.
This is to date the best newsjacking story that our team has ever encountered. So one of our clients, Play Bigger, if you ever come across the book, it's a great book. It's all about category creation and really developing your category. The book is called Play Bigger: How Pirates, Dreamers, and Innovators develop categories. And three years ago, the new Pirates of the Caribbean movie was coming out, and kind of their unofficial hero or unofficial spokesperson is Captain Jack Sparrow. And we put together a meme the week before the movie was coming out, and they released a blog post about it. And the meme was the problem is maybe not the problem is your attitude about the problem. And this thing went gangbusters. In the course of 7 days, we had over 5,500 likes, over 8,000 shares. All of that translated to homepage visits. We got when we started working with the company, they only had about 300 likes to their page. They got 600 likes to their Facebook page. Over the course of 10 days, they got so nervous that they were nervous that Disney was going to send them like a cease and desist letter from using Captain Jack's image. So we paused the boosted ad, but for $70, they got the most engagement on any post by far, and the most client engagement that we've ever seen with some type of newsjacking story like that. And that was in a matter of 7 days. So when something goes viral, it really, really goes, and you'll know it within the first 24 hours of if this is, gonna have legs or not. And after 24 hours, we saw it had over 1,000 likes, and so they put $70 against it, and it just went gangbusters. So those things definitely happen, but you've got to be smart about it. It's got to be appropriate. It's got to be on brand. And people still talk about it, that still is a point of their reference. If you go to their website, playbigger.com, you'll see the quote, the problem's not your problem, the problem's the attitude about your problem. So it's infiltrated in their marketing messaging. But yeah, it totally works. And newsjacking in the right way definitely makes an impact.
And Tara, what was that website again?
Play Bigger.
So category design. So relevance.
Yep, all about category design. Yep.
Yeah. If you can stick with relevance, like that's basically how things go viral. If you create good content aligned with what everybody else is interested in, again, respectfully in today's world. But yeah, Tara had a home run, and my first comment to Tara was, now you got to do it again. Yeah. So it's like super terrifying
right.
to get something to work that well out of the gate. But tactically, the boosting and stopping is a tactic that marketers use all the time. So if you have a really good piece that's performing really well, throw a little more money at it, invest a little more money into targeting, then turn that off, and then throw a little on, then turn it off. Lots of people do the opposite. They create something that's maybe not necessarily a good piece of content and try to boost it and try to put money behind it. And I'm like, go with the one that the people are interested in, assuming that it's on brand and assuming that it's relevant and assuming that it's, aligned with your strategic plan. Okay, let's do one more question and we'll just say our thank yous. Again, I appreciate everybody for your time today. So Vinny Rua did say custom suits are starting at $595 live if anybody wants to hit him up after. He can do virtual measuring. Great idea. Way to think out of the box. Okay. How about using streaming? My stepdaughters and daughters are all over streaming for all sorts of things, from Disney Plus to Hulu to Netflix. The market is smaller, but right now it must be a very captive market. So again, taking video and the TV model and putting it into streaming devices.
Yeah, sell a lot of suits, Vinny.
There's a lot of suits, yeah.
It's expensive stuff. Streaming is that pricing, but it's a lot of money.
Hopefully, he has my size, extra medium. Right, Chris? You talk about streaming, and the audience size right now has probably grown just in the time that we've been on this call from a streaming standpoint. I think more like the stat I showed that half of the consumers in Massachusetts are unplugged from conventional cable. It's a streaming entertainment is growing exponentially, I guess you could say. So that could be a place that you want to seriously explore putting your messaging in. But like Jacqueline said, don't rely solely on that, but use it as one of your assets in the omni-channel marketing approach, which is so vital in today's marketplace.
And think about, if everybody is your customer, if you're selling pizzas, it's probably a great idea. If you're selling, category design, processing and software and things that Tara does, it's probably not a good idea. So it's really like, you just want to have your message be as frequent as possible and as relevant as possible to the exact amount of people you want to reach. Not easy to do, but those are good parameters to kind of go by. Okay. So I think that's it for our first webinar series. We're going to try to do these. I sincerely hope you guys got some value out of this. Vinny Rua was very open today and helped us out with a lot of questions. He did recommend everybody looking into that 7A federal stimulus program. So if you own a business and haven't heard of the 7A stimulus program, it's a good idea to do so. There's a lot of things like loan forgiveness for payroll. There's some good ideas on how to keep your people employed and stay in business, and it covers rent and all sorts of things. Something certainly to look into, so I just want to say thank you on behalf of Six and everybody here. And then if anybody wants to say a 30-second last piece, I'll open the floor for you guys, but thank you all for attending.
Go ahead, Tara.
No, I was just going to say thanks so much, Chris and team, and for kind of assembling everybody. These are challenging times. No one really knows what's going on. So, we're really all in this together, and as helpful as we can be, look at us as, resource, and we'll be happy to kind of point you in the right direction. But it'll be an interesting ride, not one that's over anytime, like today, but hopefully soon we'll be getting back to some sort of normalcy.
I think that sums it up perfectly. So guys, we will email you the presentation, and I'll let Vince end it for us.
Well, yeah, just thank you, everybody. This was great. It's nice to see people from all areas and walks of life getting together for a great cause, and all the people that participated. And they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. So
it's a big white screen. Lovely.
Oh, look at those pipes.
Yeah.
What was that, 20 years ago?
that was last week. Or actually, we were supposed to be 6 feet apart on the same flotation device, but
I miss those days.
I do too. That's why we all mark
everybody.
So thank you very much, panelists. Thank you, attendees. Thank you, and we will see you guys later. Stay safe.